As long as it's not long.
Okay, well, we can...
I don't want strangers tuning into the podcast and then tuning out because of,
Welcome to STS, the Parkour podcast. We haven't been around for a while, but we're back now. So take it away. What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, and maybe as part of the intro, I'm Rene.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm Tom.
And we're a bunch of old parkour heads, and this is a place where we talk about things going on in the world of parkour and give opinions that you probably won't get anywhere else. There, that's the rest of the intro.
Okay.
Now that's everything. But we actually haven't done one of these recordings in a little while because summer ends up... We got some weird summers. I actually want to... So first of all, summer. Okay, before we even get into what's happening right now, let's fill in the blanks here. I, for the last few years, have foolishly gone into summer thinking I am going to get to enjoy the weather. And I did, but not as much as I think my expectations were. I always go in thinking, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to get to train a whole bunch. I'm going to get to go places. I'm going to stack up clips. And then slowly but surely, I feel like summer not slowly, quickly, summer goes by, but all of the free weekends, all of the free time that I was supposed to have, none of it exists.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I feel like I start to look forward to like a leisure summer of like going out and like enjoying like the weather, because it's not often that we get really great weather, and train a bunch. And yeah, it always slips away from us. And a big part of that is SPL and building up into like going through with an SPL season and just planning for this year's World Championship event, which happened back in August.
It's October.
It's October. Yeah. It's officially October. And we completely everything felt like we were just consumed by, this task of putting this thing together. And we just, I don't want to say we lost another one, but it feels like that a little bit.
Because we also have the events leading up to. In late July, we had an event. If we go back, so we did the USPK National, and that was mid to late July, right?
That was, it was July. And then June was there?
Were we in Tempest? We were at Tempest in June.
We were at Tempest in June, I think.
And then on top of that, it's camps at the gym.
Yeah.
It's the whole, for me, it's figuring out staffing and, seeing who and when, like who's available when. I ended up working, and I'm still scheduled on weekends. And even though I feel like I've lived this life for the last decade where I don't have a traditional weekend, like I don't have a Saturday, Sunday, and I'm good with that. The problem is that everyone wants to make plans on a Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And so the better days for me, I'll be like, who's up for a Thursday to go somewhere and train? It just doesn't pan out. And a lot of the stuff I ended up going down to Seattle one weekend, and I kind of just it was almost like a rip off the Band-Aid moment for me, because I just was like, I keep saying I'm going to visit Seattle again. And I thought about it, and I'm like, man, I haven't been to Seattle since before COVID. So it's a lot. I was like, that's like 3-4 years now. And it was probably just for an event that we were running at the time. So to actually just go and train. And so they were having a jam, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. But I envisioned it in the summer, I envisioned going there more than once with a crew of guys. And that just never happened.
Well, it feels like that's what we used to do.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know how we pulled it off. Because when you say used to, it's it was still, that was in the early gym. And I mean, the gym was less busy, so we didn't need as much staff.
But we weren't filling our summers with SPL events.
That's true.
I mean, there's that one summer that we did I don't know. I don't remember how many events we did, but it was 8 or something like that across North America.
Yeah.
And it was just that was too much. But but it's it feels like we go into summers optimistic, and then it just. But the thing is, you traveled a lot this year, actually.
I did.
So outside of even SPL events, you did go to Seattle. You went to Boston, Montreal, and New York in that one trip.
Mm-hmm. That was because when that was for Hubbable, which was in May.
It was Hubbable and Move NYC.
Mm-hmm.
And
did I get that right? That was May, or was that June?
I don't know. It's all kind of a blur.
It seems like it was just like a week ago.
Yeah. That was actually a week before that whole thing we were at Tempest. So it was Tempest one weekend, then Move NYC, then you went to Montreal, and then you came down to Boston for that weekend. So that was just a crazy month of doing stuff. But it's like half of it was like training, and the other half a little bit of work. But I feel like we used to be able to get out for sessions and like film mixtapes and things like that. And that just, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to like film so many things this year. It just never happened.
See, what I'm doing in my head right now is I'm trying to think, who did I have working at the gym who was covering all of like the Saturday stuff?
Yeah.
Because again, I don't feel like in the last decade I've ever had a traditional, like I have Saturdays and Sundays. I worked Sundays a lot, and then I didn't for a bit, and now I'm back on. And I like that shift because that's like one of our busiest days to get kids in. And so I feel like I'm bringing value to the gym and able to like have oversight into what's happening on, again, like one of our busiest days. So it's important for me right now to be scheduled on that day. Saturday, I'm not scheduled, but a lot of people that would go out, you know, they're on schedule. And yeah, it's like, I don't know how we coordinated it back in the day. It must have been someone that wasn't as much in the culture was working this, or we just like, you know, coached in the morning and then went out or something. That could have been a big part of it too.
Well, that definitely happened on Sundays because we would coach and then we would do Sunday session after.
Yeah. Well, there was a point where I took like a 3-4, like, so Sunday sessions, the infamous Sunday sessions of Vancouver. I've seen people take that title, by the way.
But it's
I own that. I own that alliteration. That's mine.
You can't own that.
So Sunday sessions, I was doing those. I was organizing those before opening the gym. So these go back like 15 years, and
before I even arrived. That was the first time I met you guys.
Yeah.
And by you guys, I mean you, I guess.
Well, you know, the rest of the
original
scene,
crew, I guess.
Yeah. And then I opened the gym, and I just kind of got busy, and the gym kind of served this purpose of, because we used to have so much open gym during that era too, of like the first couple of years of the gym, where I just didn't feel like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. People can come to the gym whenever they want and meet up, and I don't need to foster the community that way. So I just stopped doing them. And it wasn't until actually 2016, I think, is when I started doing them again, because it was after coming back from my Achilles injury. And I can't remember what sparked it. I think just like some of the complaints got to me of people just saying like, oh, there's not enough outdoor community anymore. And it was just kind of like this whole like, I'll show you sort of thing that motivated me to start doing them again. Because I was like, no, I still train outside. I just don't do anything to like collectively bring people together anymore. And
you know what? That might have been what it was then. Like a Sunday, I think we would definitely, because we would still train, but we thought instead of it was like Sunday session, it was more private sessions.
Yeah, we'd have a core group that would go out on Saturdays and Sundays, because those are the best days often to go explore and hit up spots, because a lot of businesses are closed, and so you could get access to certain things. Like, you know, this, like, we were just the other day you were getting a clip, and you want to go back and film it, but we were talking about the timing, and it's like, oh, we can't actually go during like a weekday noon. It would have to be an evening, it's going to be too dark now.
It's going to be too dark, so it has to be a weekend. And even then, I don't know. We'll see. It might get kicked pretty quick, but we'll see. The thing is, like, we still have done some stuff. Like something I wanted to bring up, which is, and maybe this can be a nice little transition, is you finished filming your project.
Did.
The project, the one that we've been talking about for years now.
This is my whisper platform.
Your whisper. What does that mean?
in promotion.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. The whisper platform. Yeah, yeah. We've been whispering about this for the last couple of years now, and it's finally finished filming. And so I don't know. Put you on the spot here. Is there any dates that you want to announce?
So I've been filming this for anyone that hasn't heard me talk about it. I've been filming, I conceptualized this project 6 years ago. So like pretty much probably to the day now. So it was fall of 2017.
Wow.
Where I just felt like I had come back. This is when I come back from, as I already mentioned, tearing my Achilles tendon. It was like 2 years after the fact. And I was like, I got better at parkour and I haven't done a project in a while. And there was one day where I did one jump and I realized there was like a plyo I could do. And then I realized from the plyo, there was like this extended line and it was like one of my favorite types of lines. And I thought, if I do this, I don't want to post it on Instagram. I wanted to make a video. And I started to come up with a theme around it and then started this search for this really, for me, ambitious list of lines to do that took us all the way to now. And a big hurdle was actually trying to find someone to make it with me, because I also had this idea of making it more cinematic and not just like, hey, Tom, you hold my phone for me, or the camera that we have. So that took a while too. Like I didn't really feel like it kicked off until 2019, but I do have some clips that are, I think I still have one clip from 2017.
Oh, wow.
I haven't posted from the end of that year, or at least 2018. I definitely have clips from 2018. So here we are. I had another hurdle in the middle of it that I got past, and I was set out like this year thinking I would give a go at like the two hardest things on the whole list of the project, and I did them both.
Pretty cool to see these happen, or to know they happen, I guess. Because I know they've been haunting you for so long.
That is the word.
But yeah, haunting, yeah. But not only have been haunting you, but you hit this pretty big speed bump with your knee injury, and then having done both of these having gotten these both like hard clips after is pretty, I don't know. I'm not going to say inspiring, because I'm not really inspired by a lot of things in parkour, but I would say it's commendable. I would say, yeah, super cool. So I don't know. Do we have a date yet?
So again, back to the making part.
Okay. Yeah.
I just texted Mateo last, because I was trying to get him to cut me a trailer for Join or Die.
Mateo he's the
filmmaker,
the person you partnered with to make this, to get it done.
Yeah. And that's been one of the hardest things about it is scheduling. Like I couldn't just, part of some of the challenges was I would have to break them. So if there was like a difficult jump, I'd have to break it and then call him up and be like, okay, I'm ready to shoot. Like I would have to get, 90% way to be completing a line before scheduling with him. Because I did a couple shoots with him that were just duds, where we would go out and I wouldn't be able to hit anything that I had wanted to hit that day. Interesting enough that the two that I got done, the first time I did them was with him there shooting.
Right.
Yeah. So no date, but I am looking at no. I do think it's possible to get it out before the end of November. There's some other projects, and I'm trying not to let them get in my head. I mean, other people's projects that I know have like announced release dates, and I'm trying to like, okay, not have the same release date as them. I think you could say Bryce Clark and Joshua Chen Cavalier's project might have I don't think it's going to have a similar vibe, but some of the things that they've been posting in terms of the description of it, I guess are, I don't know. I that one struck to me as like, I don't want to release around the same time as this because I feel like there could be some similarities that are drawn and I don't want there to be, I guess.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want that for them either. I'd like to be separate. So I think they're looking at December. And so for me, it's like, okay, this has to be in November. That also looks like it's going to be like a longer piece.
Yeah.
And I just shot like a bunch of interview type stuff with Mateo recently. And I had this idea that like, oh, we should try to weave this into the edit. And now after recording it, I don't want to as much. I want to just kind of go back to like, maybe this is just an action edit and maybe there's a little bit of me in there talking, but I almost, because there is this whole story now of like, all right, why did it take so long to film this? And does that add to the project? You know, I guess I'm kind of torn right now of like, does it add to the project if I am including a bit of the story, like, hey, this started 6 years ago. I totally messed up my knee. Doctor said I should stop doing parkour. Ended up getting the 2 hardest lines of the whole project after the fact. But
I feel like we have an abundance of action edits in parkour. And so
it's hard for me to talk about at length, though, and feel genuine.
I don't think it should be at length. It should be, I think, okay, we can talk about this more another time because I have some thoughts around it, and it's hard to articulate it perfectly on camera.
I'd appreciate comments and stuff, too. I think it's, I don't know. I'd appreciate like anyone leaving a comment or kind of just vote in, I guess, if you if you think I should go one way or the other with it, because I think as an action edit, we're looking at like probably like a 4 to 5 minute type thing that's like doesn't have filler. You know, it has some preps and there's no. I didn't actually. Well, I had one bail towards the end because I rolled my ankle pretty savagely, so that's in there.
But that's not gonna.
It's not gonna lengthen it by a great deal.
Yeah.
It's just that would be part of the action, you know.
Yeah, and you'll have like establishing shots and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, wow, yeah, I'm excited to finally see the whole thing because I haven't seen everything that you've done.
I've been intentionally keeping. You know, when we were showing Ollie's video, which that one's a different one because that one actually. I just finished editing that, and that's actually going to be up on YouTube. Possibly, I don't know when this is going to air, but possibly a week from when this airs. I think it's our next YouTube release as we start to getting back into putting up YouTube content. Is Deseni.
Deseni
is Olivier Leclerc's. He decided to go with that as like this is 10 years of parkour, but that's something I think. I guess that's like a 2-year project for him because he was stacking clips and then savagely destroyed his ankle.
I think it's been longer than 2 years, but yes, he did savagely destroy his ankle. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And it actually, the cool thing about it and watching it, it's so apparent, and it was obvious when it was happening, but it's so apparent how much his style has been shifted as a result of it. For the better, I think. But you should really watch it when it comes out. Deseni. I thought you did a great job on the edit. It really has this feeling that there's multiple parts, and it tells a little bit of a story while still being an action edit, and there's no talking. So, But yeah, I loved it, and I think, and I don't know if you want to use this little segue opportunity to talk about that this aired at the
At PKBC.
PKBC 17 Film Festival.
I think we'll steer back to that. Part of the reason I brought it up just now is because you had a nice woo at the end of it, at the end of the screening.
Like, while I was watching it?
Yeah, I don't want to shout on the microphone right now. Yeah,
I gave it a woo.
There were some crowd reactions and a woo, and so because you said that for my project you haven't seen some stuff, and I knew for that there were maybe like one or two things that you hadn't seen.
I mean, I filmed like the first half, first part of it, and then there's a lot of the stuff after a certain point I had never seen. So
there was some stuff I hadn't seen until he gave me the footage.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like a bunch of stuff I ended up shooting as well later, like the later end of the project. But yeah, I intentionally I think there's only two people that have like seen everything, and it's Mateo and Gloria. Those are the only two people that have like seen everything that I shot for this, and I intentionally did that just because I would like my other friends to have reactions.
Yeah, I think about this, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know this is starting to actually become more commonplace, but screenings of videos when they come out, I think are really, really, really cool. When we were at Hubbable and they had the film festival there, I remember thinking like, oh, this is so much cooler to like watch these with a bunch of people who get it. And it's a really, it just puts you, it makes you like more stoked about the thing, like the cool stuff that happens, because you hear other people's reactions and then you react, and it's like this whole like vibe. It's like when you watch a comedy, or like you're at a comedy show, and it's like, it's way funnier when you're watching with somebody else who's finding it funny, because you feed off of the energy and the laughter. I think it's a similar vibe to parkour screenings. And I think that was present also at this film festival. And I was just thinking about how, like the Commons did a screening of Dive Holes when that first came out. And it was cool, like Dylan like recorded it for me so I could like hear people's reactions. And that was like really, really cool to hear and stuff. But I wish I was there, because it would, I feel it would elevate the experience a lot more. But maybe this is like a new trend that's happening in the parkour world, which I really love, is the whole concept of screening. I know Project Next Gen did their screening.
I'm gonna miss it. There's one happening tomorrow.
Oh,
this is Wednesday.
Boston.
This is Wednesday in Vancouver. I fly to Boston tomorrow.
Yeah,
but I miss the screening because I get there at like midnight.
So there's that. There's also Nate is having a screening of his project Try Less at the Tempest headquarters, and they're also, it's like a double feature with William Spencer, and so that's actually a really cool concept. And just thinking about how I like the direction this is going, because it really feels like, you know, it's bringing people together to be a part of the project instead of just like distributed watching it on your phone on YouTube or whatever. So do you think you'll do a screening of your video?
Yeah, I mean, the plan was to get it done by PKBC, and I knew even when, because I had two shoots or two attempts at getting the final line, and even if I had completed it on the first shoot, I don't think it would have been enough time to get the edit out. So I kind of just tell myself, okay, I'm going to just be happy that I've done the hard part and my part. And now it's just like we have, I feel like two overthinkers that now need to try to edit this thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we did talk about deadline. November's cool. You know, at most we have just under 2 months if I stretch that to the end of November, but I do want to have a screening and then an official internet release for it.
this reminds me. Never mind. We'll talk about this off camera.
But do you want to stay on the topic of screenings and things?
I mean, I've said what I wanted to say about screenings, which is cool. But we could talk about.
Yeah, there's
more.
a couple more things I wanted to hit on here. So again, we'll move on from any talk about my project. I think that's enough whispering. I'll get to the next phase eventually, where I tease it. But getting past the whisper phase. So the PKBC Film Festival, which is something that I can't remember the exact year, but I just kind of guessed it was like 8 years ago we did one, and we had like Julian Buffaro, Finn Kubit, Rodrigo Pampin. Those were some of the submissions at the time, and I don't know why I didn't do it again. I want to blame SPL that I was just too caught. Like PKB
taking away summers, taking away film festivals.
Yeah. This other venture, but bringing joy to more people, I guess you could say. But just putting together the jam this was the 17th annual PKBC. So putting together that jam, which used to feel so much bigger, and then kind of just took a hit because of SPL, because it was always like, we got to do the regional qualifiers, we got to do the SPL or formerly NAPC at the gym, and that takes up like not just the closure, the gym closure that we have to schedule for it, but also like the weeks leading up to it. Just everything is really hyper focused on that, and then trying to find somewhere in the calendar where the weather is still good enough to have like a jam and get people to come out again for it just seemed really hard to do. And so a lot of last minute planning would go into previous years, but this year felt good. Was able to space it so that it occurred at the end of September. Mm-hmm. The weather's still good. It didn't rain.
Oh my goodness, we got the best weekend of weather ever.
Yeah.
And it was sandwiched by rain on both sides.
I would like to do it beginning of summer, perhaps in 2024, if I can plan ahead enough.
This is one of my favorite PKBCs, I think.
Yeah. No, me too.
I think, and we've had some really good ones in past years, but this one might have been the best.
All right,
top three.
Can you potentially talk about what did it for you?
Okay. I would say the jam at UBC went super well. And the reason I think it went super well was because we had no issues with getting like kicked out from any spots. The map worked well, where people were like just like knew where they could go to train without being super like too busy at a spot. So like there was groups that kind of like satellite groups. Can you
fill in? So the map was like, I'd like you to talk about it. Sure. To our viewers here.
So what we did at PKBC this year was we created a spot map for the 2 days for where the jamming was taking place. So on Saturday we were at UBC, and we created a spot map that included not all of the spots, but some of the key ones that would make sense to be able to host a number of people to be able to train at without being too overwhelmed, or and with close enough proximity to other spots, right? There's other spots that are around, but you might have to walk an additional 15 minutes or something like that to get somewhere. Whereas all of these spots were pretty close together. So we created those maps, distributed them to people who were attending the jam. We had an intro to training outside workshop that took place, and then anybody who didn't need that workshop could go and train at some of the spots, and maybe they went with a satellite group somewhere or trained somewhere else. And then after that, we had kind of a stick competition, which is a tournament playing STK and that culminated in a final, which was pretty fun to watch. It was at a really fun spot for playing that game, I think, because of the varied challenges that you could find there.
Yeah, it was an old alley, and it actually had I remember walking up to it and just like really digging the vibe, because I got there, like we had it scheduled for 3:00. I was actually just wrapping up a challenge at a spot, and I was like, oh shoot, got to start actually going for it. Here we go. And then I got on my bike and headed up to the spot, and like a lot of people were already there, and it was just cool kind of like cruising up on this alley that was just filled with people doing like precision jump challenges.
Yeah, it was super cool. So that was really fun. I actually would have maybe liked to participate in it. Maybe that's what I would have done to get more out of it, like personally. But other than that, it was still pretty fun to watch. It did kind of go on a little bit long towards the end, but overall it was still very fun to
We're still within time though.
Yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the last couple of games, I guess because it is like the better athletes coming together, started to take a little bit longer because it was harder to get each other out. Yeah. But it was some really cool, surprising saves and like things like that happened. That was super fun. And then Saturday night we went back to the gym and had the film festival, which we already talked about how that was fun. Sunday was great, similar format, but this time downtown. Intro workshop to training outside. People were at satellite spots. And then maybe the highlight of the weekend for me was the 1v1 freestyle battles, where we built like a little setup at an existing park that had some structures already. And we got to watch some of our students or peers or, athletes compete at in this 1v1 tournament bracket. I was a judge. It was super fun to watch what some people came up with. And overall, I think it was just like a really cool vibe. People walking up like off of the street, like watching and like, what is going on? Josh is with a megaphone talking about stuff. And it just felt like a really cool vibe that happened. So I think that was the highlight for me. And then after that, we had a barbecue at the gym, super fun. Little wrap up. I ate too much food. Just how it goes.
Yeah, I felt like, because you said this was your favorite one, and I just think we talked about this in a previous episode, I think right after coming back from Move NYC and Hubbable, and talking about like what worked at the gym, what didn't work. And one of the challenges that we solved essentially with the spot maps, because we had a spot map on day 2 as well for the Cole Harbor area downtown. And one of the challenges with Vancouver as a city is we don't have a spot like Josiah Quincy in Boston, which is just a massive concrete area with just features all over the place and can host over 100 people pretty well.
I feel like Josiah is made up of like 6 different Vancouver spots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you were to combine 6 Vancouver spots together, you would get.
But not even just like in walking distance, but like an eye shot of each other.
Yes.
And so Vancouver, I think I remember having people react to Vancouver back in the day when they would come for an SPL event and talk about, like, I remember Max Henry was like, is Vancouver one of those cities that looks like it should have good spots but doesn't really? And I couldn't tell him that he was wrong. But I think over the years I've become to understand like exactly what Vancouver has to offer. And I think I've been like, I've definitely had years where I'm like, it sucks to do parkour here, which I think everyone feels like in their own city. And you've always been. I've
always been the naysayer with that. I think Vancouver is awesome for parkour. There's so many good little tuckaways, and the problem with it is we don't have any really big meeting place spots like a Josiah.
Yeah.
So I think if we had something like that centrally located downtown or at UBC or something like that, then it would be great as like, okay, here's our meeting spot, and then we can go to all the little clustered spots around the area.
Yeah, we have smaller spots and some of them are jam spots. And a jam spot, it can't be, usually for us, it can't be something where there's going to be a lot of like high risk challenges. And so this is something with something where someone like Tim Champion on this visit, because he was in Vancouver for a bit, I was able to take him out for 2 sessions where I just knew, I kind of understood what he was looking for spots. Because in the past he'd said that he really didn't care for doing parkour outside of Vancouver. Like he loves the gym, but he didn't care for the spots that he ended up going to. And I was like, well, those are like the jam spots, and the jam spots are going to be flatter and like usually just public park areas. Yeah. And he wants some risk. He wants some levels and stuff. And I said like, well, we have lists of challenges that have been spotted but never hit because we just don't take people there because they're not the jam spots. And so I was able to. It's also
a weird expectation to be like, hey, let's go to this crazy like high risk spot where where it's like that's the only thing to do there.
Well, that's exactly what I did with Tim.
I know. But I'm saying that for most people in most scenarios. Mm-hmm. But the thing about, so I know you took him to Blood Alley.
Yeah, we took him to a spot called Blood Alley.
So Blood Alley, at least there are a little bit of other things to do there. Mm-hmm. So it's like
we've actually had a jam there before.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not like it's not like there's nothing to do there. I wouldn't say it's the best jam spot, mm-hmm. but it's also like you could do like a bit of a jam there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like there is some crazy high risk stuff that you can do at Blood Alley, and he did. He did indeed.
He did. It was great because
I looked at that freaking Kong for so many years and been like, oh, it's right there. But
yeah. It was crazy because I just rolled up to it with him and he just saw the move. Like I didn't have to say like, "Ooh, do you think you could?" Because I don't like doing that. You know, I don't like taking, because it's setting a weird expectation for the athlete too. If I took someone who is of like Tim's caliber and said like, "Oh, I found this like crazy jump I think you could do," you know, and so
it's like when people like point at holes for me to dive through.
Yeah, I'm sure you love it.
Yeah. You know, like sometimes people will point out a really cool one, mm-hmm. but almost never. Mm-hmm. So it's like, usually it's the opposite. It's like, no, that's not one, or there's nothing interesting about it other than it's small, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. I think when I'm bringing people to stuff, like, it does take a little bit of restraint to point out all the cool challenges that you know. Mm-hmm. But me personally, I prefer the exploration and the finding of it. And mm-hmm. so if somebody's like, oh, well, here's double Kong and here's a lache and here's a thing that you could do, it's like, it takes away some of the magic of the experience. And I'm stoked that Tim was able to find the thing that he wanted to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
He still has yet to. There's one thing that he did that he hasn't posted yet.
Was it at Blood Alley as well?
They're both on the same day, and he only just, if you go on Tim Champion's Instagram, you'll see it's a rail Kong to like rail pre that he fronts out of. That's like the Blood Alley gap. But there's another challenge he did on the same day that's in a completely different location that he hasn't posted yet, and I don't know if he ever will because the man has like really high standards with what he posts on Instagram. I feel like he has so many. He must have so many B-roll clips.
You're gonna need to tell me what he did because I don't know what he did. You don't have to expose it for the viewers.
Do you want me to explain it right now, or just because I think it's not really?
Is it something I would know?
It's a gap you would know that has been like a couple people have done the cat leap. It's at the stadium.
Yeah. I already know what you're saying.
So him and Arturo did the pre-back, which I was looking at, and I do need to. That one is now haunting me because I can definitely make the gap. It's at a distance where it's like this is far enough for me to start doubting my ability, but it's definitely well within my ability to do it because it's like 2 stories up.
But he just did
he didn't stick it. He did the cat back.
What? Oh wow! Really?
Yeah, downward, but like yeah.
Down
cat to cat.
Oh, cat to cat. Okay.
Yeah, not cat back pre. No, because if you cat back pre, I don't think is a thing.
That's still crazy that he did the cat back to cat.
And
because of the consequence there. Oh my goodness.
We also got kicked because there's a descent that can be done with it that would be really cool.
A drop to the yeah. Okay, but that needs to happen.
Yeah, he did the drop. Like he did all the moves separately. He just didn't put it together. So
you guys. So cool.
I feel like this is weird talking about on basically like an audio show.
I love it because they're seeing my reaction or hearing my reaction, and they just know that this is a messed up thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can move on from that. And now that I know that happened, I can die happy. Because it's like, I don't know. It's like there's always things in like around Vancouver, and I'm sure other people get this experience too, where they spot gaps or things that could be done in different areas in their city, and they're like, man, if only like I was better and I could do this, or somebody of a high enough level could do this. It would be so cool to see. And now knowing, like having the knowledge that like Tim's done some of these things, like wild to think about, because these are things that I've looked at for years. And the cat bag I've never looked at, but that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a thing that I think you and I have started to come to terms with, which is just having challenges that are so things that have never been done. And I really think that people are misusing NBD or never been done, because a never been done should be something that was considered. I think that because it's easy to go to a spot and be like, no one ever did this before. Well, it's like no one ever considered, and it's that, because it could be like something that's not a big deal. It's just like, no one really moved that way or chose to like go this direction. But I really feel like if we're going to celebrate an NBD, it actually should be something that was considered for years, but had never been done because of how messed up it is, or it needs a different title because that stuff really matters. But
it depends, right? It could be a trick like triple flyaway, or things like that. Like when a new trick happens, it's like, well, that was an NBD.
Yeah.
But I think it's like if somebody does, I'm gonna say something ridiculous, but a double side flip across the IMAX gap, that's an NBD too.
Yes.
Or like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that actually fits, because if it's IMAX 2, the gap, IMAX 2 has like this crazy progression now of tricks.
Yeah,
where I'm sure back in the day it was standing pre or standing cat. Who knows which one happened first, and then Kong cat, and then Kong pre, and then it just blew up from there.
Kong stab.
Yeah, and so you have this list of NBDs, but it's because but I still think those are things that are considered, like even like dash pre, that happened more recently, where that was something that had been considered but never been done. Right. I don't know if there's an asterisk or something, but that's what I feel like should be celebrated, and that's made a big deal of. Is when it's never been done, but it's been considered, but no one.
So here's a question:
wanted to do it.
Tim did the cat back to cat. Had anybody ever considered it?
No.
So it hasn't been considered. So it's not an NBD, but it is an NBD.
Oh, it's 100%.
Nobody's ever done that.
Yeah,
but nobody also ever considered it until that day, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a definition here somewhere.
There's something.
Of
I hear what you're saying, but I think there's definitely like this. It's missing something, because that's maybe like a classic gap that's been known about, and so doing the cat back to cat is an NBD, even though it had never been considered before. But the gap has been known about and jumped in various, only really one way years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You gotta think about like, if like known structures, something new happens on it, that I think could be still an MBD.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a point I was trying to bring up.
Okay.
Let me rewind here. Let me rewind here for a second to get back to it. because we're still on NBDs here.
NBD. No big deal, baby.
So I technically, so much pride in my voice, did an NBD this summer with the cat leap, the PC cat.
Yeah.
And this was this to me like really counts as an NBD because many people had considered it. Many people have looked at. There's a couple different places where you could do like that's. Maybe not even the best place. There's actually some other spots. That one just appealed to me because there was a bit more of a line I could build with it. But it's just it's a standing cat, and there's a couple of different places. And every time I look at it, I think, someone could do this. Is it going to be me? And then it was me. It was like other people will, particularly after I think I dropped the video, and that's something I'm actually excited about with the video. Is just kind of like setting a standard in some certain spots and hopefully people one up me and, do certain things. But one thing that I was saying that I think you and I have come to terms with, particularly with NBDs, particularly with challenges that haunt you and that get put on a list and think like, oh, one day I'm going to do this or someone's going to do this, is coming to terms and realizing that maybe we're not that guy. You know? And I don't mean to say like, oh, I'm not that guy anymore, because I do think there's stuff I'm going to hit. But sometimes it's just like, you know what? I've had the opportunity to do this for 5 years or whatever the case may be for whatever challenge, and I haven't done it yet. I really need to take someone else here and show them this challenge because clearly I'm not that guy.
That happened for one of the things in Ollie's video.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where it was just like this thing that I had in my head. I was like, I'm going to do this one day. It's going to be so sick. I'm going to showcase the side of me that's not diving through stuff and not climbing stuff. And then I was like, you know what? My knee hurts and I'm old and I don't know if I'm ever going to do this. So I just showed it to Ollie and he crushed it. And now it can't be done anymore because of the benches that have been installed.
Oh, really?
It blocks the run up.
Oh.
So
I didn't realize that.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, if I would have held on to that and been like, one day I'm going to do this,
it really would have been never
have happened.
Yeah.
And so
it would have been an NBD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, it's not that funny, but it's like,
on the topic,
it would have never been done.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess this is kind of, it's one of those lessons, and we talked about this lesson before, which is, if you're going to do something and you're ready to do it, you should just do it. Because one day you may not be able to do it because the spot's taken away from you. Maybe you're not in good enough health to do it.
Oh, you're making me think of things that are haunting me right now.
Or you should just hand the baton to somebody who's more willing to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I think you've said this before, but you're like, I don't know, like Tom might have given up. Right? It's like, and it's like, did I give up? Maybe I gave up a little bit, at least in some areas, but
you didn't retire.
I'm not fully retired yet.
The goal is to never retire.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I agree.
I think it's weird when people. Sorry, if you want to stay on the subject, but.
Well, Jesse LaFleur announced his retirement, and he retired from being a professional parkour athlete. But he still does parkour, and he still he showed up to compete at Kings of the Concrete qualifier, for instance, which is an example of somebody who can retire from being pushing the professional side of the sport, but still enjoy doing parkour.
I think a true retirement is actually in the same team, Frosty.
Yeah,
Frosty truly retired.
We don't know if he might do jumps on the side.
Okay, so in terms of retiring from parkour, I think for both of them, it was a retirement. They say pro athlete, which I always have an issue with that term in parkour, but that's a whole other conversation.
If anyone can call themselves a pro athlete, it's Jesse LaFleur.
Sure. Yeah. But I think for both of them, retirement, what it really meant was not pushing themselves to really squeeze more out of themselves, really. I think there's a point where, and this is something I'm trying to figure out for myself, where it's when do I stop trying to squeeze more ability, where it's, I clearly can't, getting closer to 40, I probably clearly can't do more like output ability. I think I'm just trying to hold on and maintain the like past gains of output, but I think there's still more that I could get myself to do mentally. There's still challenges where things that are, on my NBD list, where it's like, oh, if I just can get myself to try, I can, if I can get myself to actually commit to jumping, this is reasonable to still hit. And so I am still trying to squeeze that out, because a lot of my enjoyment for parkour comes out of leveling up, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've talked about this before, but it felt like for a lot of years, I completely forgot about the concept of trying to get more output and like build up the physical side of parkour. And my progression was exclusively aimed at improving mental, the like psychological component of parkour. And I feel like I mostly succeeded there. And I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like right now I'm doing that either. So there's like some different challenges that I'd like to complete and get done, but my list isn't terribly long right now. And it's, I don't know. There's still, like, I still find a lot of enjoyment. Like the jam at UBC, I had a lot of fun at, just playing around at the spot and doing different things. And some of it's hard stuff. Some of it's not particularly hard. But I don't feel the same fire that I used to feel of like, I'm doing everything I'm doing is aimed at improving my ability to do jumping, climbing, swinging, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably delusional to like some extent. Like I fully understand.
I'm not saying that's what I should be doing.
No, I don't. Well, I was also like, are you? People have different goals with how they want to live their life at a certain point. And we're talking as guys that have been doing it. I'm on my 20th year of parkour, and I'm 37. So I started parkour when I was 17. I'm 37 years old now. So it's not just age, because I really. Sorry, I want to be careful with my next words, because a lot of people will celebrate, like parkour over 40 or whatever. And there is a difference between age and training age. And so I think
that's very true.
Sorry. And I think it is something to be celebrated, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be celebrated. I think it's friggin' amazing when people that aren't part of the typical parkour demographic of like 18-year-old dude, are doing parkour, and particularly if they can do it at any sort of like advanced level, it's awesome. It's incredible. What I actually want to get at is that I think when people set expectations for themselves, so like if you're 20 and you see someone who's 40 and you look at the way they're moving and you're like, oh, there's hope for me. Maybe not. It's the kind of thing where you have to combine, as I just said, training age with age. So, and I think some of the stuff that's happening recently with my knee, it's kind of a sign where I don't know. I've kind of posted and talked about this, where it's like I kind of feel like I'm running out of time, and actually that pressure allowed me to do some of the stuff I did this year. Just feeling like it's kind of now or never, because there might be one day where I suddenly wake up and it's like, oh, I've been having some knee pain for the last couple weeks because, my knee's clearly arthritic and it's missing cartilage and stuff that's supposed to be there that they took out. And so I could wake up one day where it's like, it actually hurts too much now. And I have to get like a knee replacement or something. And knowing me, I'll probably still try to do parkour with a knee replacement, but it might look quite different. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but I do think there's.
I don't know. It went dark real fast.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of jaded, but it is this thing that kind of keeps coming up for me, where people are talking about parkour late, and I think they are really missing that component where it's not just your age, it's your training age. It's not just like someone like Bo Kendall, who apparently broke his femur recently. And I'm a big fan of Bo and what he's doing, and I think it's awesome and it's incredible. But I don't think like when I'm 56, I'm also going to be doing 12-foot running prees. I think it's very unlikely that I will be at the pace that I'm going at. It's very unlikely. If anything, what's probably going to happen to me is exactly what most naysayers would predict, where it's like I might be a mess by the time I'm 50 at the pace I'm going at. And I'm just at a stage where I'm trying to make peace with that, really. I guess is what it is.
But here's the question is, do you think that if you were to stop tomorrow, you'll still be a mess?
Yeah.
So, it's just the way that you're communicating this, it sounds like what you're like, if you continue to do parkour, you're going to be a mess. But really, it's like, the damage is already done.
Yeah.
Right? I
actually think I'm better off continuing to do, and this is the thing my surgeon said to me, who was like, you should quit parkour. I don't think it's a good idea. I've seen the inside of your knee, and I don't think it's a good idea that you keep doing parkour. And then coming to an appointment 18 months post-surgery and telling him I'm doing what I'm doing. And he's like, oh, well, I guess you're a success story. Keep up. He said verbatim, keep up with your activities.
Yeah.
Knowing what my activities are.
See, that's the thing, though. It's hard to trust what that surgeon is even saying because most people don't really understand what the demands of parkour are. And maybe it is extreme stress on your knees, or like maybe it's less than they think it is. You know what I mean? It's like I could see a scenario where they're just thinking parkour is always super intense, super extreme, and there's like you're just wearing your knees with every time you go out. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that's probably just a misunderstanding of what parkour is, just like the general public misunderstands what parkour is. Like people don't even realize that we actually practice things before we do them.
Yeah.
They just think we're just like going around, jumping around and whatever, freestyle, improv all the time. And it's like, no. Like we actually like rehearse and work through and problem solve. And then after a certain point, we finally get to the point where like, all right, we're ready to complete this movement. So I don't know. Screw your surgeon. He probably doesn't know what he's talking about. But I guess what I'm concerned is like we're talking about parkour as longevity. I'm concerned that you're scaring people away from doing parkour when the reality is that the things that can happen in parkour can happen in other activities that put you at risk.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the other way of defining it or talking about it, which is something I think we've had a conversation about before, which is like training for performance. And so I've been someone that's always trained for performance, for high performance. And I still, like yesterday, I was doing plyometric stuff. And I actually think that training is more detrimental long-term than just if I were someone that kind of took, okay, this is what I got. This is my body. This is what I got. These are some of the deficiencies, but I'm just going to sesh. I'm just going to do parkour. And within doing that, you probably develop some imbalances, for lack of a better term. I don't know what else to call it. That would be,
well,
I think that's
you probably like favor certain, or like, if you have a messed up ankle, you're going to just like,
yeah. Or like I mostly twist
ways.
The same way or jump off the same leg or whatever, you're going to develop some of these imbalances. And so, yes, it's smart to have some sort of strength and conditioning protocol, or just general physical preparation protocol, which would include plyometrics, where it's like I'm doing an equal amount of jumps on each leg. However, because this is like maximal effort training, which you don't have to do to be healthy, but because I'm doing like maximal effort type things, I think this like adds to, I guess, my own, I didn't want to say detriment because I don't feel that way
It
either.
adds to the wear and tear.
Yeah, wear and tear, or just the training age. I think you could have two people that say they did parkour for 20 years, and that can mean very different things.
Yeah, that's super true.
Like another guy I look at is like Jason Paul, who I think is still at like he at one point Jason Paul was best in the world. If you didn't know that, Jason Paul was, I think you'd have a hard argument to say that he wasn't the best in the world at one point. And then I think he had his own injuries. He gained some weight. He had a kid, but he's someone that's still like, I never see anything from him that says like, I'm in pain or I have this anymore. Like he seems to be doing quite well and still is, maybe even elite, in some ways.
But even so, here's the thing with him too, is even if he does have pain, he has a way of moving and enjoying parkour that doesn't necessarily involve making things worse.
Which is a great example to go off of too. And I think for me, having had like 2 big injury comebacks, I really get into a love for parkour, in both scenarios where like I had atrophied and completely lost the ability to use a leg twice. And when that happens to you and then you can use your leg again, parkour is so enjoyable. Like I'm just so open to like, everything's fun. I'll learn this new sort of like static move that normally doesn't put the wind in my face or give me the risk in the things that I really enjoy. But then you get back to like being kind of like 100%. And for me, it's like, I need risk and I need, wind in my face to really enjoy, I have an appreciation for like static movement and some of the things he does, like some of the more like dance inspired or, I don't think I need more words to describe what you're talking about that he does. I have a tough time going there unless I'm physically handicapped. And that's probably, maybe it's a problem I need to address. I don't know.
It's just the type of parkour that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And people, and that's the thing about parkour is people enjoy different types of the expression of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like even you and I have like, we both have more traditional parkour styles, but we have still pretty different like spot enjoyment or like specific moves that we would enjoy doing. And of course there's crossover, but I am kind of looking forward to, I mean, I'm not in a rush, but I'm looking forward to like being in my 40s to see like how well I could still move as, somebody who be at that point, over 20 years training. And so high training age and also like, kind of getting into like the middle age, region in terms of my biological age. So because it's cool because we've seen like the Yamakaze and David Bell and Sebastian Foucan get older and enter into their 40s, 50s. And it's like, oh, wow, like, they're still moving and stuff. But our generation is the generation that's done more parkour as we know it today. And so as we get older, we're going to be the first generation that's entering into that realm where we did parkour as a sport and they did parkour more as just like I don't know what to describe it as, a lifestyle. I mean, it's still a lifestyle for us, but lifestyle or quote unquote discipline. They did parkour differently in the 80s and 90s or even the early 2000s than we are doing, 20, 30 years later. And I'm really curious to see how my body still moves and how, because even somebody like Bo or some of the parkour practitioners who have been doing parkour for a long time, but started at a much later age, they move differently than like our generation does. You know, like Bo is 56, you said?
Yeah.
Bo is 56. He started at age 40.
I think late 40s actually. Okay. But I'm not sure. Someone help if you know.
Well, because there's that video that's called the 40-year-old free runner, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's in his late 40s at the time though. It's like the 47-year-old free runner or something. I think it's what you're saying.
Well, all right. Let's say he started 45 years old or something. So I think he moves differently than somebody who started when they were, I don't know, 20.
So you're saying someone who started when they were 20, but they're like in their 40s now? Or okay, yeah. Like a Sebastian Foucan, because they're not that far apart in age.
I don't consider Sebastian Foucan in that same world, because I guess what I'm saying is like you actually, you're almost 40, right? You're 37. You're 37. Bo is 56. There's I feel like the two of you move very differently. Even though you've been doing parkour for the same amount of time during the same period of time.
I mean, I definitely would say that I've been doing parkour longer than him.
Okay, let's say. I'm trying to
find your example here.
I'm trying to find, like, let's say like we have two people starting parkour at the same during the same period of time for let's say the same length of time as well. One starts at 47, the other starts at 20. Yeah. There's going to be a very different way that they are actually.
Well, yeah, because you're already if you're starting at 47, it's like you have
a lifetime
not in your peak
of
athletic
habits,
time. Yeah.
But you have a lifetime of habits that are different.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's harder it definitely gets harder to break habits when you're older than when you're younger.
Yeah.
And I'm saying a 20-year-old, but I mean, imagine a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old or whatever it is.
Well, you give examples of like, if you wanted to compare me to like one of the stores, because like stores, they all started like pre-2010. So some of them are coming up. They're past the decade, past 15 years. They're going to be coming up on like 20 years as well. So I started when I was 17, but I think you have like Callum may have started at like 13. For example, or Toby may have started at like age 12 or something. And I think their first 5 to 10 years of parkour were like way different than my first 5 to 10 years of parkour. One, because of the cultural difference, but also like even 17 compared to 12 is like way older. In terms of like what you can learn as an individual, like as a 12-year-old, you can absorb like so much. Yeah. As a 17-year-old, like not as much. Still really young, but not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think there's going to be a big difference. Is like people who start later in their life are they move differently than somebody who's like us as we age into our 40s. We're going to have like a totally different experience with parkour, I think.
Yeah. When I look forward to like what you're saying, I look forward to it as well.
I think we're gonna not be moving the same as like we're gonna be like as long as we're healthy and as long as we're still doing it, we're gonna be moving way better than Sebastian Foucan moves right now when we're his age.
We'll see how messed up I get. I think like one of the things I like pride myself on too, which is even something to be proud of, is that I've never taken a break. When I say 20 years, it's like 20 years of training several times a week. And if I couldn't do like parkour on 2 feet, I was doing like strength and conditioning upper body, or I was climbing, or I was doing something else, but it was all like very parkour centered. And I think like Seb just took a long break from parkour. It would actually have been interesting to see if he had stayed in it more, like culturally, to modern parkour. Because he does a bunch of like cool like strides and jumps like now, which is again really incredible to see a guy who's like 50 do. But yeah, it would be interesting to know what that would look like if he didn't like separate himself from the culture so much and had a more like modern style. By the time we're 40 and 50, we might not have a modern style anymore either. Like it might be like the, you know, or contemporary or whatever you want to call it. You know, he could be like, oh, this guy looks like he did
looks
parkour.
Like he started in the 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess I also wonder, will our style change? Like, will we still be training with the younger generations?
Oh, I think I will be. Yeah. I think I get a lot out of harnessing the life force of the youth.
Drink their blood.
I think I get a lot.
Rene said we're training at Blood Alley today.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I think I get a lot out of training with the kids.
Yeah.
As long as they don't think I'm weird, it's okay.
Oh, they do.
Do you have I remember, so Dylan Poland, who we see quite a bit of.
Yeah.
He was saying like he has, by the way, phenomenal standing back tuck.
Yeah. Good. It's good back tuck.
Can do it anytime on request. But he said like one of his goals in life is to just be able to do it for as long as possible. Like that's the one. Do you have any like types like moves
like
or types of moves?
Goals?
Yeah, that you're like, I want to be able to. I still need to be able to do this when I'm 50.
I mean, definitely shoulder roll. I don't know. That's just like a fundamental skill that I want to keep as long as possible.
Right. I thought you were going to get a little more ambitious on me.
Well, it was just the first thing that came to mind is like, I want to be able to fall like comfortably and like, but
like side flip. You can do a side flip when you're 50?
Yeah, I'll be able to do a side flip when I'm 50. Yeah. It's not like, that's not what comes to mind though. The thing is, I rarely do flips in general, like side flips maybe.
Well, I pulled that out because I was trying to think of like a specific movement that doesn't require a lot. Like you just whip out anytime, and flips are, you know, there's something you should be able to whip out anytime.
You can't whip it out anytime necessarily, but like I don't know, climb up, like a good climb up. That'd be cool to be able to do, just always. You know, it's like I gotta get on top of something real quick.
Yeah, I've always had a standing pre-obsession, and I think it's like one of those things too, where I'll go to spots and like whatever ones have been the big ones for me, like historically, I'll like make sure like I can still hit.
Do them. Yeah.
But I'm just there's gonna be a day. I was saying this the other day. I was at like Andy Livingston Park where there's like a curb one, and I think it's a few inches under 10 feet, but I can still do it, and I still have been able to do it. And I actually can. There was a time where I think I could do it more easily, but I was scared to. Like I would routinely go back to that spot because I would do like sprint drills over the field, roll up, and then roll up to the spot and be like, all right, I'm just going to knock out some standing pre's, and I'd be like, but I have better commitment now, and so I just feel like it's less of a thing.
Yeah.
But I can't jump. I definitely can't jump as far as I could, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Same. Yeah, I think the only thing that comes to mind for me is just be able to do a climb up.
Just make sure
I want to be able to do a climb up like well into my 70s.
Ooh, all right.
You know?
Yeah.
That would be sick. Although I might have arthritis by then in my shoulders.
Yeah.
So that might not be able to happen.
They got treatments for that. Yeah.
Shoulder replacements?
I am just not. You know, I am. I'm just hoping that medicine keeps up with me. That's pretty much. That's my life plan.
The reason I bring up arthritis is because I have a family history of osteoarthritis, and I'm probably gonna get that. And my dad's hands are messed up, dude. They are so messed up. They're just like claws. Like he had joint replacement in one of his fingers, and now it went from not being able to move at all to being able to move like this.
Okay. Does he still run, by the way?
Well, not as much anymore because the osteoarthritis is in his foot now. But he does, I think, still. But he'll try to like bike now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to kind of, because we should end this, to end kind of like on a positive, like going back to what my doctor said, which is, you know, he the last time I saw my surgeon was like, you know, keep up with your activities. And I do think because I am doing things right now that for me, I try to do things that I neglected. Like I'm trying to get more range of motion out of my like left hip. I've been really trying to focus on that lately, trying to just spend more time in a squat, spend more time sitting on my knees again, because I lost that ability for a bit because of the surgery. And I think just, you know, maybe it's mobility, maybe it's jumping. But these are things where I think that the secret really is just try to keep doing them. And I guess we'll see. But I think that like for me, it's just try to think of things, because I think when people say they have like knee pain in their 30s, you're like, what? Like, why? Like, why you got knee pain in your 30s? Like, why? And I think it's just because they just don't do the things. They don't spend time in a deep squat. They don't spend time jumping. So of course it hurts, because like your tissues and your joints just aren't used to it. And so I think for me, and I guess I'm, you know, my own experiment is just like, I'm just gonna keep doing them. You know, I'm not gonna.
Wait, you mean people like untrained people? Like
Yeah.
saying like, oh, my knee hurts or my back hurts or whatever. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean is like these things are going to happen to us anyway as we age. Like age is going to mess us up. Like it's going to catch up to us eventually, unless we get some awesome scientists and business people building healthcare to a way that allows us to extend our life.
Yeah.
We're going to end up, you know, succumbing to age. And so either that's going to happen sedentary in a chair, or it's going to happen because I stuck a really gnarly pre too many times.
Too many times.
Too many sick sticks.
Or too many preps.
Oh yeah, too many preps. Yeah, exactly. Preserve the body. Fewer preps. True attempts only.
That is key for me lately. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is STS once again. This is the Parkour show. I'm Rene. This is Tom, and we will see you again very soon.